Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. Hey, today I want to show you something that Freewell Filters sent me. They sent me the all-day 8-pack for the DJI Air 2S set of filters. This is a pretty cool little setup, and what I did, listen, you guys know I'm no professional videographer or photographer, but I really had a good time out experimenting with these filters. There's a lot that you can do with them, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But first, let's show you what's in this pack. As you can see, the Freewell All-Day 8-pack comes in a nice jewel case and includes a kind of an assortment of filters that I found interesting, and is different than what I had used on other drones in the past. So it includes not just ND filters, but they all have polarizers on them as well, with the exception of the two very dark filters. So what do you get? Well, you get an NT4 filter, it stands for neutral density filter, with the circular polarizer. You get an ND8, you get an ND16, you get an ND32, as well as on the bottom row there, an ND64, and then the next one to the right of that is just a clear circular polarizer. So if all you want is a polarizer and you don't need the filter, you've got that too. Now it gets really interesting with those next two. You've got an ND1000 and an ND2000, and those are very, very dark filters that you would use to create motion blur, particularly in water. So I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I tried those two filters, and for what I was trying to do with them, they didn't work very well, and I ended up using the ND64 with the polarizer, and it did exactly what I wanted. But I can tell you, I had a lot of fun experimenting around with these filters. So what did I do? I went out initially and I took what I thought I would try and do. I've seen a lot of people take those really dark filters and they'll go to a waterfall or something like that, and you can really get that velvety look of the water going over the falls, taking photographs. But what I wanted to try was to do it to get traffic and go to an intersection and get cars going around the intersection or through the intersection with enough motion blur that it showed motion, that it showed speed. And truthfully, the ND1000 and the ND2000 were too dark for that. Again, I'm just an amateur, so I learned that lesson, but I had fun experimenting around with it. So I thought about it again, and I ended up using the ND64, and I was able to achieve just the effect that I was looking for, and I'll show you guys that in the rest of the video here. But the other thing that I wanted to do was show what the polarizers can do to reduce glare. So I did some things with the polarizer and on the ND64 and just the clear one, and I'll show you that as well. But in any case, let's quit messing around and let's get right into the video, and I'll show you what I did. This first run over the pond is without any kind of filter on the drone at all, and I did this to show you the amount of glare that you would see just without any kind of filter. And then this is going back the other way. So you can see there's a fair amount of glare on the water, and it's hard to see in the water. Now this is with just a clear polarizer on there. And you know, I gotta be honest with you, I had trouble seeing a whole lot of difference. I think it's a little better, but you know, it's still, there's a fair amount of glare. And you know, that could be that I just didn't have it adjusted correctly. You can turn that circle to get the correct amount of polarization, and so that's very possibly I just didn't have it adjusted correctly. But this last one is where I really see the difference. This is with the ND64 and the circular polarizer, and for sure you can see deeper into the water and there's less glare on this one. Yeah, I mean, I also even thought that the colors looked better. I did notice that I had the white balance set on automatic, and it was changing up the white balance a little bit while I was going across. Now this is going back the other way. This would be heading east, and you can see that's the midday sun right there, right in the middle. So it was right in the middle of the day when I did this, but you definitely can see less glare, and that's an ND64 with circular polarizer. And now this is going over the top of my Corvette without any kind of filter at all, and you look at the reflection in that black glass. You could see the trees and the sky, and so that showed quite significantly. So now this is going back the other way, and this is with no filter at all. And again, look on the windshield here. You can see the reflection of the trees, etc., in that windshield. And now coming back, now this is with the ND64. Look at this back glass, and you can see there's not nearly as much reflection in it as there was without a filter. And then again, we'll turn around and go the other way. Take a look at that windshield, and you're going to see a lot less reflection in the windshield there. Little bit of trees there, but much less than it was without a filter at all. So this is a series of pictures that I took with the ND64 on the drone, and I was trying to show the motion of the traffic. That first one was at 1/10, and these next couple of pictures are at 1/15 of a second on the shutter speed, and I really think that was the sweet spot and achieved what I wanted. At 1/15, you can see the movement of the vehicles going by, and then the next few pictures here I went down to 1/30, and that was just too quick of a shutter speed, and you don't see enough motion blur in the automobiles to achieve what I was looking for. And then the last two pictures coming up here I shot at 1 and 12.5, and that was just a little bit too much blur. I think that just showed blur, and it really didn't give the effect that I wanted. And then finally here, when I was done taking pictures, the drone went into return to home, and this is just with the ND64 filter on a bright day and the polarizer on, and I kind of like what it did with the, I like this effect. Like I said, it was a very bright day. Perhaps I could have turned the EV down a little bit, maybe to make it a little bit brighter, but I liked what it did with the colors. I liked the blue and the sky, and look at how much it brings out the modeling in the parking lot there and the green of the trees. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And so yeah, that's just a little bit of the experimentation that I did with the Freewell all-day 8-pack filter set for the Air 2S drone. But I did try the darker filters, and they just didn't work out for me at all. They were too dark for what I was trying to do. But I'm anxious to try those guys out, that ND1000 and ND2000. I want to take those out and do some shots over some moving water and get that velvety smooth look that you see a lot of professional photographers do. And like I said, I'm just a hack, but I sure had a lot of fun experimenting around with the filters on this day. Hey, so as you guys saw, my results were certainly not professional. And there's a lot of guys out there that have done some really good reviews of this product and really can show you some really professional results. I would recommend that you check out Flight Path, Aldrin Estacio. I can recommend that you check out Billy Kyle's channel. They can really show you how to use Freewell filters and use them in the most effective way to get some results. But I can tell you what I did, it was just a blast experimenting around and trying to get some of the different results that I did. And of course, that's how you learn, and that's how you get better at what you're doing as a photographer or videographer. I want to remind you that the main thing that neutral density filters are for with video is to get that natural motion blur in your video. If you don't use a filter on a really bright day, your shutter speed is so fast, you just don't get that natural motion blur that your human eye typically sees. So that's what an ND filter is for. Now, I know a lot of people will tell you, oh, it brings out the colors and so forth. That's not what an ND filter does. Now, the polarizer can do that. So if you've got that polarizer adjusted correctly, it'll bring out the blue in the sky, and it can reduce glare in water and reflective things. So the polarizer is handy for that. Now that ND1000 and ND2000, trust me, I'm going to mess around with those a lot more. I'm going to go someplace where I've got some running water and see if I can get some nice video with those to really show that velvety flow of the water when you get that kind of motion. And I'm sure there are a lot of other uses for them that I haven't thought of. But I can tell you this all-day 8-pack, it just gives you such a wide variety of filters that it'll fit almost any use case. So I really had fun out flying my Air 2S and experimenting around with these filters, so I can sure recommend them. I guess that's about it. This is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Most of all, I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And of course, we'll see you on the next one. And yes, I will put an Amazon link down below to buy your own Freewell filter, all-day 8-pack filter kit. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.